And this way, if there is something you want to refer back to or refresh your memory, I'll have that available for you. Just so you know, I am Diane Marion, and I'm the Ag Literacy Coordinator here at the Cook County Farm Bureau. And my partner in crime here is Jill. I'll let her introduce herself as well.
Hi, I'm Jill. You've seen my emails. It's nice to see your faces.
Do you want to go through what's needed to fill out, or do you want to do that at the end, Jill?
I think everybody usually fills out the sign in when they sign out. You received that link in the email that I sent earlier today reminding you to do that. If anybody needs that link again, let me know and I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, I'll need that. Okay.
Okay, very good. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The purpose of today is really to provide an overview of Ag in the classroom, as well as introduce you to a local author, educator, illustrator, and expose you to new curriculum. We can't, obviously, in this time frame go through everything, but I just want to showcase some of the resources that we have here at the Farm Bureau. So I'm going to go ahead and, can you see my screen okay? Is it on share? Okay, are we good?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Lori, if you want to just say hello, and then Lori's going to do the middle part of the workshop. So Lori, go ahead and say hello to all.
Hey, great to see everybody. I'll talk to you after Diane goes.
Okay. So first of all, just so that you know, some of you are unfamiliar with the Cook County Farm Bureau, and we often get asked, why is there a Farm Bureau in Cook County? But we do have a lot of agriculture in our county. It might not be, 1,000 acre farms, but there are a lot of farms. There are a lot of schools now that are doing food production, and they have farms, as well as there's a lot of indoor growing that's taking place in and around the city, whether it be hydroponics, aquaponics, vertical gardening. There are food production facilities and processing all throughout Cook County. And we also have a lot of research and development businesses in our area, and local greenhouses, meat processing companies, and a lot of research and development. So there is a lot of agriculture in the county. And what the Farm Bureau does is we're a membership organization, and we have a couple of functions that you can see on the left-hand side there of our screenshot. We have a membership area that helps with membership benefits, which are quite plentiful. And you can go on that tab to learn about membership. We have our area, which is Ag Literacy and Education, and that really covers all grade levels from kindergarten through high school. And also we have a large scholarship program that we just wrapped up last week. So we do try to give scholarships to students who are going into an agriculture major in college. Maybe it's ag engineering, maybe it's food packaging and design, maybe it's food science. It's not just related to food production. So we do have that area of education, as well as part of our foundation, where we do fundraise to support ag literacy in our county. And then we have our whole farm support area, which is Discover Local and Commodities and Marketing. We try to help agriculture professionals partner with resources to either sell their services or learn about new legislation or public relations issues where we can help them with that and their business. So those are kind of the components of the Farm Bureau. So today we're going to talk about Earth Day, and we did send everybody a box. I hope you got it. I know that if you have it in front of you, we're going to go ahead and dig in and look at how you can use agriculture to teach Earth Day. And for those of you that are doing homeschooling, or those of you that are substitute teachers, most of these are very easy to grab, take with you, and do in your classrooms. So the first thing we'd like you to take out of your box is your soil ag mag. And these ag mags are, this is an example of a series of about 20 different titles that are available in the way of ag mags. These are 4-page nonfiction readers typically geared towards, I would say, the 4th to 8th grade levels, but most of the high schools that I work with, they also use these as part of their curriculum. So the soil ag meg, we're going to open up to page 2. And in that middle page there, what you see is an article that you can read on your own. It just talks about who is responsible for soil conservation. And obviously farmers have a large responsibility for soil conservation. And you can see in the top area of the ag meg, some of the key points that they talk about related to farmers would be, conservation tillage. There's different methods to till or no-till farms. And that's talking about what methods would reduce soil erosion the most and what farmers are doing in that area. Cover crops is another area, and the list goes on. So you can read about farmers' responsibilities, and then on the lower level of the graphic, you can see what our responsibilities are, whether it be our homes or our school gardens, how we can help the environment. So there's definitely some connections between the two. And I'm gonna go to the next, I'm gonna go here just to show you a quick video. And if you look at the top part, when you're talking about cover crops for farmers, and you're looking at the bottom part, how we at home can help the soil, cover soil is under the consumers. So when you look at your gardens or a farm field, what you will see nowadays is that it's not all perfectly tilled and clean and brown, and the farmer doesn't take everything off the fields typically, depending on what they're planting in the spring, but they leave what's called stubble on the farm field. And that really helps reduce the erosion, such as the erosion that caused the Dust Bowl. So you will pass farm fields, and as summer comes along, you might see on a soybean field some corn sprouts growing. And those are really, like, they're called like volunteers. Those are leftovers from last year's crops, because maybe there were some corn seeds left in the field or some stubble that propagated another corn plant. But it is a soybean field this year. So it kind of shows you that farmers are stewards of the land. They're trying to do what they can do to reduce erosion. And in our home gardens, the same thing holds true. Is I know in my garden on the side of my house, I just left everything as it started browning out so that it just provides a cover onto my raised bed garden. And then as I had other plants matter, I'm throwing that on top of it so that I can work it all into the garden this year. And let's just take you're going to get links on all of these videos that we're showing today, but I'm just going to show you like the first minute of this video. And it's an example of a classroom activity you can do to demonstrate how to reduce soil erosion in 3 different ways. So let's take a look at this.
Hi, I'm Jack. Welcome to Fun Science Demos. The big idea today is erosion and how water has the power to shape our land. But we don't want the water to shape our land too much, because we need that soil to grow plants. We use those plants for food, and animals use those plants for food. So what you see in front of me are 3 different types of land. This first type is just bare soil. It's just soil. This next type has dead leaves on top. And the third type has plants growing in the soil. This may not look too exciting right now, but when it rains, that water has the power to change the land. And we're going to make it rain to see what that water is going to do to our land.
Okay, so some of you might be familiar with this experiment. And what he's going to do is pour water through the different containers here, the pop bottles or the water bottles. And this is a really easy thing to do in the classroom. And you can have the students determine what materials would help reduce the erosion or the soil runoff that's going through those bottles. So you could go out and just purchase some potting soil. You could just go around your school area and dig up some dirt that's around the school, or you could go to your school garden and start that with container number 1. Then the second container, you might take some of that same soil, but then add wood chips on top of it, or add leaves on top of it, or branches that you find outside. And then the last one would take a little bit of prep time, but there you could just get some grass seed and plant it in the bottle. And within literally a week or 10 days, you will have the grass, which will form a root structure to reduce the erosion. So we really like this experiment. We did not include it in your packet today, but it's a great one to use for a lesson. And I don't know if any of you in the chat bar can share with us if you have done this before in your classes or not, but it's a great experiment. And there's a lot of variables that you can use. If you divide the students up into groups, they might all choose different things to use in their experiments. Okay, now you've got some soil with you that you got in your box, and if you can go ahead and take that out right now. And we are going to add some water to your cup of soil. So if you can, I removed my view. Let's take a look. Does everybody have their little container of soil with them? They got, it looks like this. It's like a little cup and it's got soil in it. If you want to take the top off of that, and then take, if you have some water with you by your desk or wherever you're sitting at, and just fill this about halfway, 3/4 of the way with water, put the cap back on, and then go ahead and give it a good shake. I'm going to ask you to show some of those in a few minutes. So we're going to give it a good shake with the water. And then you can just put it on your table, and we're going to see how that settles. I am going to show you one that I have here. I haven't shaken it yet, but we're going to take a look at that before I shake it, and now I'm going to go ahead and give it a good workup. This soil is from just off the sidewalk here at the Farm Bureau, and I got it about 2 years ago, and I just reuse it regularly. So that's what it looks like now, and we're going to let that settle for a few minutes and come back to it. And then I have another one here, which is from another state. You can see the layers. I'm not going to do it right now, but you can see the layers here that it's mainly a sandy soil, but I'm going to shake it up and see how they settle over the next 10 minutes or so. So we're going to come back to that and see what the soil layers look like. What you see on the bottom of your cup, and it hasn't settled yet, but this will show you what all of you have in your little cup. Jill went ahead and marked on the bottom of them what you have. And so we will ask you what you have later, and I can pull the slide back up so we can see how it settled. So this would be a good experiment to use to talk about on page 2 again of your Soil Ag Mag. There's an article and information about soil types, and it talks about soil particles, sand, silt, and clay. And it talks about drummer soil, which is the Illinois state soil. And if you're studying soil, it's often good to, along with that, to study that particular state and what they're growing there. So for instance, in Illinois, 2 of our main crops are corn and soybeans, and that would be due to the nature of the soil in Illinois, which was formerly prairies. It is very fertile soil for growing corn and soybeans. So lessons where you can connect the main commodities grown in that state with the soil type that they have really connects those 2 areas together. And if you want to go even deeper into a lot of these topics, I want to share with you our magic kits. These are also on our website. And again, you're going to be getting these links. We have what are like Tupperware bins that are called magic kits here at the Farm Bureau. And they haven't been real popular to come and check out because we're so far from a lot of teachers. So what's happened over the last year and a half or so is that all the lessons in these kits are now available online. And the materials that you would need to do the lessons, you probably would have. But if you don't have them, we at the Farm Bureau would be glad to supplement things for you. So let's say that you're teaching your science class about plants and you don't have some of the tools that you need, we can send those to you. But if you look up at our website, and you can do this later after our program, under teacher resources, which is under ag literacy and education, we have information about each of the magic kits. And in your packet, you also did receive an example of, it's like a little checklist, and this is an example of what is in the soil kit. So it shows you in your handout that the soil kit has lessons that are math related, English language, arts related, science, and social studies. So if you are doing a unit on the state of Illinois, or you're doing a unit on plants or insects or soil, and you say, gosh, you know, I'd like to do a logic puzzle because I want to incorporate this across the other subject areas, you can do a logic puzzle that is a math lesson related to soil. So all of these are here. You can just click on the website and it will bring up each lesson. This is the Illinois Magic Kit. It shows you what the lessons are. And then if you further click on the blue, it will go into the whole lesson for you. And Jill and I would be glad to walk you through these if you want.
Since this 8th section slices each section crosswise into 4 equal parts.
Okay, so we're going to go crosswise. Okay, so I've got my 4 parts.
3 of these 1/32 sections represent the areas of the world that are too hot, rocky, wet, or where soil are too poor to grow food. Plus, we can't grow food on some land because cities and other man-made structures are built on it. Now carefully peel the last 1/32 section. The peel on this small piece represents the amount of soil on which we have to grow food. And that amount of soil will never get any bigger.
Okay, so that is our earth as an apple demonstration with the apple being used to demonstrate how we do need to be stewards of the land, because we're not going to get more soil just like we're not going to get more water. So let me just show you a video of that we'll send you a link on as well if you wanted to use this along with your lesson.
Imagine the earth as an apple. If it were sliced into 4 pieces, 3 pieces would represent the earth's bodies of water. 1 piece would represent land. If the remaining piece were sliced in half again, 1 piece would represent the land on earth that is unsuitable or inhospitable for farming. This leaves 1/8 of the apple representing land that is used to live on and grow food. 3/4 of the remaining apple slice would represent soils too poor to produce food, or land covered by cities, roads, and buildings. The remaining piece, 1/32 of the apple, represents the portion of the earth where food can grow. This is our farmland. The thin peel of this slice represents the farmland's layer of topsoil where our food is grown. Every minute of every day, the United States loses about an acre of farmland. Over 70% of America's fruit, vegetables, and dairy products are produced on farms near cities that lie directly in the path of sprawling development. Sustainable practices and careful planning, such as farmland conservation, are needed to protect this precious resource for today and for the future.
Okay, so also related to soil, just for some of the younger students, and if you're looking for some projects that are more fun versus studying, we do have our soil journal here. And I turned off my camera, hold on. And you can see here I have an example of one. And what this is kind of fun, just to, agriculture really incorporates, you know, art, science, math, social studies, everything. So this is really just You have a piece of construction paper in your box, and all you do is you take one of these little cups and you can put a little bit Elmer's glue in it, and you can go and look for different soils out and around your school area, or they can bring them from home. And the first step in this, and you have the guide, is just to use toilet paper with Elmer's glue, and you put it all over this and let it dry overnight. And then the next day you take your soil and you add just some water to it, and you can just dab it on and paint it. And then after it dries, we made like a journal out of it. So you have 2 hole punches right here, and you just put a twig in there that they find outside and carry a rubber band through the holes so it opens up, and you can fill it with paper. So that's just one idea of even using soil to do painting. The other things you could do would be, and we're going to get into some germination a little bit later, but right now, let's go back to our soil. You can see the one I showed you, it hasn't settled yet, but you can see the layers are starting to settle. So it's a great thing to do is if your students are going on spring break somewhere, or if you travel at all with your own family, when you go to different cities, try to collect different soil types. That's how you ended up with a lot of Utah soil, because Utah has amazing colors of soil. You have pinks and you have purples, and they're very different in composition depending on where you're at in the state, which holds true for all states. So that's something else to keep in mind, and to remind your students that maybe they want to start a soil collection, or you as a teacher might ask for friends and relatives to send in an envelope of soil, and you can investigate that at your school. We also do have this little booklet also that you have a template for. This is a flip book. So this is showing how a soybean is growing in soil, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit later in germination, but it's a really cute, easy booklet. Again, great for a quick activity as part of your science unit. And then
I would just like to add, some of the teachers maybe have done this already. You can also take plants, leaves, small branches, fruit and stuff. You can make your own colors with that stuff, you know, by just putting it like in a mortar and pestle. And another project for the students. Check it out. You know. Enough said.
Thank you, William. All right. Okay, and this is a really fun thing for those of you that teach at home, or wherever you teach. I think this is awesome. And when I first heard about it, I was like, wow, this is really weird. But it's been a huge hit, and it's really fun. And if any of you have not been to the St. Louis Science Center and you go in that area, I would highly recommend the museum. It's small, really doable, and it's got really cool exhibits. And one of them is a whole room with soils from across the United States. And you can then see all the different colors of the state soils. And so they have a website, and on it, it was about 2 years ago, they started this soil in your underwear challenge. It's very fun. And basically you just go out and buy some cotton underwear, and you can go ahead and plant it. So we'll send you the link to that, very fun. And then I want to show you that Illinois Ag in the Classroom, they did this experiment last year and dug it up in the fall. So I'm going to show you their final video from what they dug up. And you have to realize they started with, white underwear with an elastic waist, and this is the outcome.
Hey, it's Chris with Illinois Agriculture in the Classroom. I'm back out here in the pollinator garden to check on our experiment of soiling our undies. At the end of July, we planted 5 pairs of regular old cotton underwear in the soil here to see how fast they would decompose. At the beginning of October, we unearthed the pair. They looked like this. So here we are in the second week of November, and we're going to dig up another pair and see how much further it has decomposed. All right, so here we are about a month later, and literally all that's left is the elastic on the underwear. All of the cotton fibers are essentially gone. We found a couple little bits and pieces in some of the dirt clumps of some cotton, but essentially all that's left are the synthetic materials, the elastic. So this is also kind of interesting because you would think as the temperatures get lower, the soil biology would slow down a little bit, but you can see in the last month, this decomposition has continued pretty darn quickly, and there's really next to nothing left in these underwear after that point.
So I think that's a great experiment, and you know, it does take time, obviously, but if you wanted a shorter experiment, using maybe a different medium, putting in soil, you could definitely use a corn-based product, and a lot of you have used our corn experiments, but we do have corn packing peanuts here, as well as styrofoam based packing peanuts. So you could even have your students plant those even in pots with a plant, and then see over the course of a month or so, is there any change in the packing peanuts between the two? And obviously the corn one does break down very quickly. The styrofoam one, if they're fourth graders, it's still going to be there probably when they're eighth graders. So it's a great tool to use, and we can always send you some of those. If you want packing peanuts to do that experiment with the students, you can, or just to do one of each, if that works for you. So we love the soil experiment. I think it's really fun. And then here I do have some books that we use a lot in our programming. We won't go through all of those. The Jump into Science Dirt book up there on the top left, that's one of our favorites to use. It really goes through a lot of information on soil and how to use soil in your classroom, and definitely covers a lot of information about sand, silt, and clay. So it's a great book, as are all of these here. I just wanted to point out some of those. We do have a book library here. So if some of you are teaching at home and you want to borrow a book for 2 weeks or so, you are welcome to come by and borrow our books. We've got a whole agriculture library here. Okay, and then real quick, we do have soil testing. This is more if you're looking for your school or your home and you're interested in soil testing. That's one of our largest programs here, and we do that in conjunction with University of Illinois and their labs, and we sent you a flyer on that so you can look at the pricing, but a great suggestion before you hop into your gardening. And that looks like this that you got in your package, and I know my assistant is going to be back in here shortly because we're going to do one of the activities from this AgMag. And what I just want to tell you is it looks like it's small, it's only 4 pages, but there is so much information in here and so many lesson ideas. So I want to go to the next page, and on my video, what I'm going to be showing you is on the last page of your water AgMag, you see careers here. And one of the featured careers is Ray Bennett, and he is a towboat vessel captain. And we have this video that I'm going to show you. It's very quick, just about the difference. Again, we're talking about Earth Day, and we're talking about saving energy. And it just blows your mind to see how much he carries with his vessel in the water versus if all of these goods and services would go via truck or road, you know, truck, river, road, how much more you can carry on this based on the energy. So let's take a look at it real quick.
Why do barges give the U.S. such a competitive advantage over all other countries? Because barges are hands down the most reliable, cost-efficient, and environmentally friendly mode of transportation to and from export terminals. Barges can economically and sustainably move 1 ton of cargo 576 miles on just 1 gallon of fuel, while a truck can move 1 ton of cargo only 155 miles on 1 gallon of fuel. A typical 15 barge tow equals 216 rail cars or 1,050 large semis. The 110 million tons of material transported annually on Illinois waterways are equivalent to 4.4 million semi-trailer truckloads, or 1.5 million rail cars.
8 to 10 guys on that tow, which if you did that with semis, you're talking about 870 truckloads. You're talking about emissions from every one of them engines. The wear and tear of the rotors.
floats in water. We know that now.
Okay, so I think an interesting perspective on different vehicles and modes of transportation. A great thing for students to research about road, river, rail. What's the best way to get things from point A to B, especially with the supply chain issues that we've seen over the past 2 years. So that is, I also wanted to have us demonstrate for you the watershed lesson. And raise your hand if some of you have already done this in your class before or not. Okay.
Hi, I'm Kevin Darty. Welcome back. We're here again today to talk a little bit about everyday agriculture, the agriculture you see all around you. We're here with Ag in the Classroom. You know, we got some rain. Yesterday we talked about it's raining cotton balls and it's been raining. What happens to all that rain? That's something farmers across the state of Illinois, they worry about. Our activity today is talk about where the rain runs. Easy way to think about that is if you have an umbrella, when it runs off, it runs to the low spots. There are some high spots where the ribs of the umbrella are, and it runs off the low spots. Well, if you stop and think about that, that happens also on our landforms. What we're going to talk about is a watershed. Where the water sheds, how it runs off. We're going to take some freezer paper. You could use regular paper, but it actually works better with a little bit of waxy coating on it. So this has got a little waxy coating. You could actually use wax paper at home as well. We're going to take this and wad it up. This becomes our wad of watershed. We're going to unfurl it, unwrap it, and if you look, this could be the landform of a state. It couldn't be Illinois. Now it's Illinois. Things are a little flatter in Illinois, but we want to know where the water runs. So what we're going to do is we're going to give some hills and valleys. I've got a spray bottle with just a little bit of food coloring added to it. Check with your parents before you add food coloring to their spray bottles. But we're going to spray this and you'll see the rain happen, and then it'll start slowly shedding. Now, one interesting part is it pools in low spots. You see those around your home with lakes. Sometimes you see the lakes run into rivers, and in Illinois, the rivers turn into the Illinois, the Kaskaskia, the Mississippi, the Ohio. They all run down the Mississippi and out the Port of New Orleans, and that's one thing we're trying to take care of, making sure that the water that leaves the state of Illinois is good and clean. So our activity is our wad of watershed. For our younger students, we've got an activity about all the water in the world and where the water comes from. I think you'll enjoy the book that's being read to you. Our upper level students, let's talk about this. Click on the map and find your watershed. If you click on the map, you'll find your watershed and see where exactly the water from your area runs. Our watersheds are actually pretty big and they all follow major rivers. So you'll see that. Our STEM activity also includes a watershed sleuth campaign. I think you'll really like this. It's from the National Environmental Educators Foundation, and I think you'll really like that, talking about where water runs. Stop and think about that with the rain. Where does the water run? We'll see you tomorrow.
A great activity if you have a huge piece of paper and you do it on a floor with all of your students around it, and they can all contribute to the materials that would be going into the water. So just another example of another lesson. The water cycle in a bag, this you've probably seen before. We did send you a template, and it's a very easy activity where you're actually taking either your, this is like aquarium rock, that's pretty inexpensive, but you can use any kind of rocks. It doesn't have to be these. These are just showing the blue for the water. And then you would have your students cut out the template that you got. And as you can see, it would fit a sandwich-sized bag. So they're going to trace the template with permanent markers, and then you would fill this with water and put it in a warm spot, hang it up, and you will start seeing the water cycle taking place. And then we also have some books that we like. One of the books that we have just learned about through Illinois Ag in the Classroom is The Water Lady, and you did get some examples of lessons that relate to the book. There is also a video that was done many years ago chronicling the story of the water lady and how Darlene has a full-time job, and then she takes a truck around to the reservations to provide water to the individuals in the Navajo reservation area that don't have access to running water. So if you have an opportunity to purchase this book or to do a read aloud online just for your own purposes, it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And there's a lot of lessons on water and how important water is. And we are lucky in the Midwest because we have all the water we need, whereas when you go to a lot of other places, they don't. And then this lesson here that we also sent you is an example of how much water it takes to do certain things. And it's a great complement to this book as another activity to do with your students. So those are our water lessons. Then we just have a few other references for you. A lot of our lesson plans and materials come from Illinois Ag in the Classroom, and you will get this link, but they are redoing their website. So most of the lessons now you would need to go to beyondthebarndoor.com, beyondthebarndoor.word.com. And you will get that. And there's a wealth of lessons and information on there for any grade level. Hold on, let's go to that website. Okay, and then another in your packet that you probably saw in the back is our little journal that we sent you. And of course, we've just put together 100 of these, and I don't have one finished one in front of me, but there are instructions on how to do the folding. And basically, you are going to get a little booklet that the students can use to investigate outside the environment and identify trees, identify different soils, as well as pollinators and flowers. And they would do actually work filling in a lot of the empty boxes. And then on the back, when you staple it together, they'll have a little pocket that they can go investigate and look for items for treasures to put in it. So really a fun activity, especially for the primary grades. And our pollinator Ag Mag was included in your packet. You can investigate that, and it would go well with what we will send you of Lori's presentation. I feel so bad that we lost her, but that is a great compliment to her presentation, as well as she was kind and generous enough to provide all of you that got your boxes with her own book, which is Butterfly Birthday. So we are so thankful to Lori for providing that to us. I'm amazed by her writing as well as her illustrations. She's also a wonderful artist. So you will hear more from her. We will send you the recording of that, hopefully by Monday. I don't want to promise tomorrow for Jill. And then lastly, here are some of the websites. Most of what we've done today relates to ag literacy at the Cook County Farm Bureau. And then we do have some other websites, as I said, that we'll send along to you. So let me just show you a few other fun activities that I don't have. Let me stop sharing for just a minute. We sent you some of the lessons on these, but we sent you the lesson for garden in a glove. And I just wanted to show you, I planted my glove about 7 days ago. And so this is a great germination activity. Students of all ages absolutely love doing this, from grade school to high school. So you might want to do this as a activity if you're going to plant a school garden to what you're going to plant in it, and do a little bit of testing. On mine, I planted carrot seeds, soybeans, corn, green onions, and lettuce. And all you do is put the cotton ball in some seeds, and you seal them up in here, put some air in here, and I just put this in a warm spot. It doesn't have to be in a window. It could be laying anywhere. So I'm going to cut open right now. Let me just take out the lettuce, and I'm going to show you that this is only 7 days. So I could take this out and it's almost like a plug that I can go ahead and plant. I don't know if you can see that, but it's done really well. So it started to germinate and I could thin these seeds and then go ahead and plant them in my garden. So it's a great visual for the kids to see. And we also included a journal. Some of you might want to use the one we included, but it would be wonderful to do predicting on this. Which of these 5 seeds do you think is going to germinate first? What do you think the root structure is going to look like? You could even put these in a cup and let them continue to grow from there. And then why do you think some of these didn't grow? Like my soybeans, one of them sprouting, most of them are rotting in there. So you can do a lot of things with this garden and a glove. And all you need to do is buy a pack of food handling gloves and you get like 500 in there. And then we also included a handout, and Lori did start showing us her example of doing a composting bin. We included vermicomposting, which is also with worms. So some of you might do that at school already. This is just a lesson in how to do it. You know, you can do small ones for each student, but I think it would be better to do one for your classroom. And then they can all have a job related to that bin every week that they have to do. So those are all the goodies in your bag. I have to make a pitch for our Summer Ag Institute. That is coming up this summer. We're so excited. We're going to be back on the road. Some of you that are here have been on my Summer Ag Institute. And that's coming up in June. It will be a 3-day experience. We're going to start here on June 20th, head down to Bloomington. We're going to stop at some farms that provide information here to Chicago markets. So that's coming up June 20th. And we're gonna, as we head to Bloomington, we'll travel to 3 stops, stay overnight, then we're gonna travel to 3 more coming back. There will be activities on the bus as part of the professional development. And then on June 22nd, we will go to some Chicago area agriculture sites. I'm not sure where exactly, definitely a greenhouse, and I'm not sure what else. So it's a 3-day trip. It's $125 for non-member teachers, and for members, which is $20 a year. I appreciate all of you participating. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and I want to turn our program over to Lori Harris. And Lori's going to do her segment about butterflies and all of the activities she has going on. So Lori, go ahead and take it over.
Great. I'm Lori Harris on Salt Creek Butterfly Farm, and I've worked with community programming and programming in the schools for quite a few years. And I wanted to share some of the activities that I've done with students and some strategies for incorporating them in the classroom. So that I've worked with really young students, I've been trying to get them to be aware of habitat and the pollination process. A Lego beehive that the children built. Their ages 4.5 and 5, and it's a fully functioning beehive that produced over 100 pounds of honey. And this year we're adding to our apiary. We're putting in 14 new hives. So by the time the kids were done with this Lego hive, they understood the structure and the parts of the Lego hive, of a beehive in general, and we're pretty familiar with working with the bees. The slide shows a program that I did in a Montessori school where the children chopped up their leftover food after lunch and added a worm compost bin. And here we've got one of the ways that I assess if children have understood the process is to have them do drawings. And this is a 4-year-old's drawing of the worm farm. He has his little self here, and this is me, the worm compost bin full of worms. And then they are chopping up their food to put it in. So a follow-up program we did with this was we used the amended soil, parsley seeds, which I'm going to ask you to do, plant parsley seeds so that we could raise black swallowtail butterflies. And then we also used some of the parsley to garnish our Thanksgiving tray. Okay, this slide different monarch education programs that I do. I set up hand feeding tents. This first picture is of monarchs nectaring on wildflowers of the native flowers. The second one is straw with hand feeding straws with Q-tips dipped in Gatorade. And you can pick up the butterfly at the end of this hand feeding stick and really get a chance to see it up close without handling the butterfly itself. When you have such a close observation like that, you're able to make a personal connection with nature, and you're also able to do some compare and contrast by noticing which is a male and which is a female. You also get to see the different parts of the anatomy, like the clingy feet and the tongue. This picture down here is a program that I've done with young children, community gardens, and schools and retirement communities. See, she has that little round tag that she's putting on the wing, and we're tagging for Monarch Watch. So it's really interesting to be able to be included in some citizen science programs where you're able to record information on the butterfly. Is it a male or female? Was it hand reared or wild caught? And one of the butterflies that we tagged actually made the 2,000-mile migration to Mexico and was picked up there. And we were notified that our butterfly had made it. That's really a magnificent way to teach about migration. It's a great high school program. I've spent a lot of time.
I have one question, Lori. As
Sure.
far as the teachers that are on the workshop today, if they wanted to do a butterfly feed station or be a part of the Monarch Citizen Science Program, would they contact you, or could you provide a contact?
Yeah, I have a sheet here at the very end that has my contact information, and I'm already signing schools up for migration programs this fall.
Okay, so in their boxes, then you all would have the contact for Lori to get more information on that. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that for the teachers.
Sure. So this one is just showing some work that I've done with different organizations to certify my gardens as a habitat or a monarch way station. And monarch way station, another thing I'd like to encourage you to do. It is also the difference between a butterfly garden and a butterfly habitat, in that it provides pillars to eat as they're in that developmental stage. And so you get the entire life cycle within one garden area. So when I first started my summer programs, I thought a great way for the children to observe the butterflies was to catch them, because we had a butterfly garden and with a lot of butterflies. So I thought it was a great idea if they would go ahead and catch them with their nets. That proved to be really a way to collect the butterflies because they were over enthusiastic. So I finally had a eureka moment when I realized that if the butterfly garden into a habitat, that's where we could really collecting eggs and caterpillars without doing any damage. Okay. So here's a chart on the difference between a butterfly garden and a butterfly habitat. I've put seeds into your kit that will allow you to plant both flowers, the adult butterflies, them in, and those would be the sunflower seeds, and then also of parsley that are a host plant, allowing the caterpillar of the black swallowtails to produce the full life cycle. So the reason we have a difference in types of plants is because they have different mouths and different ways of taking nourishment. The adult butterfly has a sipping mouth with a tongue, and the caterpillars have a chewing mouth, so they are eating leaves. Of the mouth fly, it's curled up when not in use, and then when their feet land on a substance, the tongue will come out. This here is watermelon, which is another way that we like to be able to hold the butterflies up close. We put watermelon into a cup, and then they come up on that, and it's a great way to see it up close. This is a sunflower field, and it has all of the nectar for butterflies to come and just drink for days, but it doesn't have any plants that the butterfly would lay its eggs on. So this would just be considered butterfly garden type area and not habitat. Again, to have a habitat, the caterpillars need to be able to have leaves to chew on. And each butterfly species has a different kind of host plant specific just to them. So if you were wanting to bring a black swallowtail butterfly in, you would plant specific things for it. And if you wanted a monarch, you would plant different things for that. All the nectar flowers bring in all the butterflies, but specific plants bring in different butterflies. So this is common milkweed. There are a lot of different species of native milkweed in this area, but this is common. And if you remember, this brings in the monarchs. Monarchs eat only milkweed. So here we've got an image of a wild habitat along the lake shore. I only see this particular plant a butterfly garden would want to plant things that have a high nectar content. These are mums, which are out in the fall, and they really don't have a high nectar content. So you're kind of likely to be getting butterflies at those. So you'd want to choose native plants that have a high nectar content. And I'll have a list of some of those for you as well. This is my own habitat, one of my own habitats. And again, in this, this was an early one, and I really only had things that had flowers to attract the adult butterflies. But in this smaller container, this is a hydroponic planter that wheelchairs can come up to. I planted different host plants. So the butterflies would come to this area, they'd be drawn in, but then they would come over here and lay eggs. And when you've got a small area with the host plants, it's pretty easy to find eggs. Kids are magnificent at finding them. My eyes are a little old and don't do quite as well. This is a close-up of the hydroponic planter. This cabbage would bring in cabbage whites. Pearly Everlasting would bring in painted ladies. I've got some tropical here, which would bring in the monarchs. So here's another way of planting. I did each of these planters for different types to find. Okay, so this is a chart that I gave you in your kit. These are three of the probably butterflies that you're most familiar with. Monarchs have become really an iconic ambassador butterfly for us. This shows the life cycle of it. Each of the butterflies goes through the same life cycle. We have the egg, the larva or the caterpillar, the pupa or the chrysalis, and then the adult butterfly. And this right here shows what its host plant is. Monarch is only milkweed. Black swallowtail, egg, caterpillar. It's got a different form when it's really little compared to when it grows. And its food is fennel, dill, parsley, and carrot. Here's its chrysalis and its adult. You may be familiar with the painted lady from the kits you bring in the spring. Typically, you don't have a host plant. You'd have like an artificial diet that the caterpillars would eat. It gets very webby. It's pretty disgusting. And I don't like the kits because they don't show a relationship between the food and the insect. I have another suggestion as a replacement, but I'll get to that in just a little bit. I'm not going to go through each of these, but gives you a look at what some of the other native butterflies are to the area. This is a great way to do a compare and contrast exercise with your students. It's also a good way of teaching them how to order the different stages. You could them up and have back in egg, larva, pupa, adult. Again, red spotted purple. You can see some of these have, oh, I missed this caterpillar. Some of these have a really resemblance to bird poop on a leaf, and I've actually made the mistake of collecting a leaf with bird poop rather than a caterpillar. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. Okay, another thing you could do a compare and contrast with are the giant silk moths that we have in our area. And these are 3 that I grow routinely. The caterpillars are huge. It's just a magnificent surprise that we have something that are this large, and the children are just crazy about the giant silk moths. The difference, some of the key differences in a moth to a butterfly are the moths are out at night, the butterflies are out at the day. The butterfly chrysalis stage is the resting part for the larva before it becomes the butterfly, and the caterpillar becomes a chrysalis. They shed their skin and turn into the chrysalis, as opposed to the giant silk moth, where it spins and sews together a cocoon. So we've got a butterfly chrysalis and a cocoon moth. Okay, so again, these are the different swallowtails that are native to our area. And the one I wanted us to focus on with our project is the eastern black swallowtail. The black swallowtail raises its young on Queen Anne's lace, golden Alexander, dill, and parsley, and more than that, but things that are in the carrot family. And I provided seeds for parsley, so that's the host plant that we're going to grow. The adult butterfly laying its eggs on the host plant. You see how its abdomen is curled? That's the ovipositing position where it lays its egg. Now, one thing that's really interesting about this ovipositing is really anytime you see a butterfly on its host plant, you can pretty much guarantee that it's laying an egg. Okay, here's a close-up of the black swallowtail egg, and this is what we're looking for, is the round yellow ball. And that in perspective for size, here it is on a parsley leaf. It's about the size of a BB, maybe a little bit smaller. This is the brand new black swallowtail caterpillar. You see how it has this yellow part here that looks like a saddle. And this is it as it grows a little bit larger. It's my favorite. They are just adorable caterpillars. And see how it got startled, so it puts out these little antennae that have it. They're really not called antennae, they're called filaments that put out a really sweet smell, and that drives predators away. Some people hate it, but I really enjoy it. This is the black swallowtail as it's starting to go into its chrysalis. They shed their skin 5 times, and this is the second to last time it's shedding its skin. So another interesting thing you can look at in the classroom with the chrysalises is their way of camouflaging. Here is typically what the looks like when it's on brown sticks. It becomes a brown chrysalis. And here I just took a piece of paper that was green and I rolled it up. And when it made its chrysalis, it made it green so that it would camouflage in with that fake grass there. Compare and contrast. Again, we have a male here and a female here. The female we see has a lot more blue. So that's another way to sort. One thing about the black swallowtail caterpillars is they're here with us in the winter. They're in your garden, and this is a great reason for not cleaning up your garden too early in the spring, is because it's full of these chrysalises here. These are black swallowtail chrysalises. Okay, so again, we're looking at this set of stages. And you're going to start off by planting your parsley seeds. You could do it in a pot or in a flat. And if you did it in a flat, then you would be pulling these apart and putting them in separate containers for the kids. I also gave you seeds for the lemon queen sunflower nectar plant. This kind of serves 2 purposes. It's a great nectar flower for the butterflies to draw them in, but it's also another part of a citizen science program that's run by Berkeley. And it involves committing to 15 minutes a week and watching the sunflower plant to see how many pollinators land on it in a particular period of time. So it's another way of collecting data, charting, and feeding into a larger program that you might be interested in. So you could be planting your seeds into individual cups. I have another way of doing that so you're not using plastic. I've got a paper, toilet paper tube, and I've cut 4 slits in it. You just push the bottom up, your soil in here, and then you container that you can put your seeds in and plant into the garden. So if you are going to hand rear caterpillars, the things you need to do are plant the host plant to begin with, and then you're going to put your plant outdoors, either in your garden or in a pot. And that gives butterflies who are full of eggs, the females, a chance to add plant. And they're going to lay eggs. Each butterfly lays about 400 eggs. So it's not unlikely that you're going to get eggs. It's actually pretty likely. Of every 100 eggs, though, only 1 survives in the wild. So it's good to keep monitoring it and bring the caterpillar or egg in as soon as you see it so that it's not eaten by spiders or birds. I actually found out the other day that to raise 1 clutch of 4 baby birds, they are going to eat 9,000 caterpillars. So that's why so many eggs are laid, so that they can be part of the chain of life there. So once you get your eggs or your caterpillars, you're going to transfer them to a suitable would look like, and then you're going to bring them indoors. So if you're raising them inside, of course you don't need to give them any water, but you're going to keep giving them little bits of food. So you'd keep giving them some parsley. You'd keep some parsley off from your plant outside. So important to I put the things on a paper towel so that the dropping caterpillar is actually called frass. You can pull that out easily. Get clean. Then you're going to move your crystal to a larger container. I mean, once it changes into a crystal, into a larger container so that it can accommodate the wingspan of the butterfly. And finally, you will release it back into the wild. So let's kind of go over that again. You're going to put the plant outside where it's going to get an egg, possibly a caterpillar. Then it's going to grow larger. Here's the container. I generally put eggs and small caterpillars in. It's just a Ziploc container with a paper towel at the bottom. I don't punch holes into the top because that'll dry out the caterpillar. And they can manage just with, they've got plenty of oxygen there. Another container I might want to suggest that you buy is one of these pop-up containers. It's nice to start in this because this gives your butterflies plenty of room to open up when they finally do. This is a link to a place where you can buy them for $10.50. And this is the what happens when the butterfly is actually closing. The chrysalis turns kind of clear and you can see the wing pattern through there. It pulls itself out. Its wings start off pretty shriveled up. You can see this was the body of the caterpillar before. And then its wings stretch out. And again, you've got the male and the female. This is actually, I've got monarchs here in this picture, but this is a program I did with the school on freedom. And the kids wrote poetry. And there was a contest in each class. And then the winner presented their work on the day of our release. So creative writing is a great add-on to these programs. Some activities you can do in the classroom during the school year. In the fall, I'll just let you read this for a second. We've got the monarch migration, which I work cycle. Talk about habitat, plan a butterfly garden, butterfly habitat. I've put sheets in your kit on planning a habitat. And that might be something that an older class in your school might want to do. Do artwork around it. That's a great way to assess how people are understanding things. And in the summer, the stretch project could be that they take these seedlings home and actually do the hand rearing themselves. I like to develop observation skills. This is a photograph that we took directly from a book, and the students will look at it and try to verbalize what they're seeing. I see a teardrop shape. I see a scalloped black line with another thin white line next to it. I see sort of a golden color, black squiggles. And so by really doing an observation, they're able to see it more clearly. And this is a 4.5-year-old. These are 5- and 6-year-olds doing larger wing pattern paintings. And the patterns on butterfly wings are just vast and fascinating, and they lend themselves to abstract artwork very easily. So a suggestion that I have for replacing that painted lady kit, which most classrooms, first grade classrooms get, is to do a giant silk moth program. And I wanted to suggest that to you as an option. I'm going to start getting more into that, more into providing classrooms with cocoons. And if you're interested, you can leave your name and I could give you some free cocoons next spring. It takes me a fair amount of time to raise them and to get them in that state for you. But if you're interested, it's definitely an interesting program to bring into the classroom. Just let you read over some of the benefits and some of the negative.
What time frame should teachers allow from the start of the project to the release?
If they're going to do the parsley, if the black swallowtail, it's a solid month. by the time you get an egg to the time it's an adult butterfly. So that's really most suited for a summer program. If you're going to do the full life cycle. If you're going to send the program home, you really just need enough time to get your seedlings started, and then they'll be able to monitor it the rest of the summer.
Okay.
The silk moth program, though, you'd get the cocoon, and that really just takes a couple of weeks until it's ready to go. And that's one of the earliest things that gets released into the area is the giant silk moths come really early. They come just as the willow trees are starting to bud out. Right. Okay, let's keep going. So these are the three most common ones that I do: Cecropia, Polyphemus, and Luna. And these are all native to us here in Illinois in Cook County. I keep losing my train of thought there for what I'm going to say about this. Let's see. This is an example of the size of them. They're so calm and really easy to observe. Here the kids are sorting different cocoons. So we've got a chart of what each cocoon looks like, and they're making predictions for which, and we put these in different containers. So once they close and they become the giant silk moth, we'll see if they got it right.
That's wonderful.
You see how large they are, and they're just mesmerizing to the kids. They're so calm. You can pass them around pretty easily. This is a 4.5-year-old doing a drawing of the Cecropia, and you can see what kind of observation they've done if they're able to recreate it this clearly. See, she doesn't even know how to do her A's yet, and she's drawing this.
Wow. Wow.
So here's my contact information. I have a blog on beekeeping for families and some different information on different pollinators. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and I've got a couple of YouTube videos. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the program.
Thank you so much, Lori. And I know that the teachers will be interested in reaching out to you. There was a lot of just wonderful feedback. If you want to mention Butterfly Birthday, your book, they were thrilled with it. And that was in the chat bar that we got frozen on yesterday, but I wanted you to know that
Wonderful.
they were really thrilled about it. And do you want to just share your book as far as how long it took you to write it and any thoughts on it?
Well, I did the book because I needed something to use with younger students that was visually compelling, but still accurate. Wasn't like a fantasy of, you know, of a butterfly, but was something that you would really look for. And it also teaches patience, I think, because the cycle doesn't happen quickly. You need to keep going back and keep looking and keep observing. I'm working on another one right now on beekeeping called A Hive is a Home. So stay tuned for that. And I'm hoping to encourage families to raise beekeeping and understand that it's a backyard hobby that a lot of people can get involved in.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you to all the teachers that are a part of this professional development opportunity.
If you do contact me about the giant silk moths, please just put in that you were in the Farm Bureau class, and that's your pass.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.